Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, as promised, we'll be going through the path from 7.2.1 that I recommended in my previous video with the team I recommended using. This will allow you to get a little more insight into why I chose this team and how I play around the nodes. This will be much more relaxed, but I still suggest you go and watch that video first if you haven't already, as it contains most of the key information around this quest. This is just how we put it into practice. And with that, let's jump in. So, here we are in 7.2.1, and we will be taking Teleporter 1A towards the Blackbolt path. The team today is 5-star Nick Fury Ascended, 5-star Kingpin Ascended, 5-star Apocalypse, 5-star Archangel, and 6-star Rank 3 Colossus. He is signature 140, I think. Up first, we have Blackbolt, and for him I will be using Kingpin, but you could use anyone. The reason we're using Kingpin is because he has that very high shrug-off chance, and the more debuffs we stack, the more damage we get. If the debuffs mattered more, for example if this was a biohazard lane, I would be running Joe Fixit with him. However, the debuffs here are really quite small, so there's no real need to, because once Kingpin gets to 8 debuffs, he will shrug them all off regardless of what they are. So we don't actually require a 100% shrug-off chance that Joe Fixit would give us. However, having all of that rage and all of that overpower, he has some serious damage behind him, even as a 5-star. We're getting sort of, 16k medium attacks, that's very nice, and pretty much constant willpower healing as well from all of those debuffs. Going for another special 1, we've got 1.2k per tick degen, and with just a couple more hits, 50 hits, Blackbolt goes down without issues at all. Up next, we have Professor X, and for him we'll be using Colossus. This fight we have to take a little bit slower, because Professor X is one of our annoying fights. He has his miss on a timer, which will be coming up in just a second. There it is, that 10, so that's going down. When that goes all the way around, he will falter us next time we try and hit him. What I try and do is time this with his special 1, so there we go, we push him to special 1, so now when he throws it, like that, we can go in and punish the end of it and trigger the falter safely, and the time is just there for you to still hit him anyway. So, because of all those debuffs and Colossus' immunity combined with his signature ability, our armors are ramping up very, very quickly. Unfortunately, Professor X has now gone into his sort of mind control mode, which means we can't gain power, but we are slowly building towards our special 2. But, as I said, we have a lot of armors going into that. Now his falter's back, so we're going to trigger that safely. And then we're going to go for heavy into special 2. 26k there, 53k on the end, not bad at all. If you didn't have, say, Nick Fury, for example, bringing in Omega Red to support Colossus would boost that damage much, much higher. So, we are now just recycling special 1, always keeping an eye on that falter timer. It's going to go round now, so we're going to bait a special attack. That way we can do it all safely. So there we go, we avoid that, punish that, wait, get the timing right, and still hit him in the face anyway. Here we go. Colossus also, as you notice, every time does a parry. Mine does about 1500 damage. You can see there it's 1497. Unfortunately, he does a light ending combo there, so we're going to have to wait that out, this mind control. We can still punish him off with the special 2 because the falter hasn't gone round. However, here we can see falter's gone round, so we trigger it safely. And there. I don't know why I dashed back, but never mind, we did. Go for another special 2, 9k, another 26k. If it had just crit on the end, that would have been fine. But here, that's perhaps the cheekiest kill I've ever done, because we parried Professor X's first hit of his special attack, which dealt the 1500 damage, which was enough to knock him out. Up next, we have OG Scarlet Witch, and we will be using Nick Fury. In hindsight, I probably should have used Kingpin for this fight. Why? Well, Scarlet Witch can trigger a lot of other debuffs on you, and one of those is poison. And that's a big issue for us because Nick Fury is not poison immune. There it comes. We do have constant willpower healing, but also we've got 2 weaknesses really hampering our damage, as well as a crit down. So that's not great either. We're going to use a special 1 to shrug them all off, but because we've got fewer than 10 tactical charges from Nick, we can't get rid of damaging debuffs, so we've still got to deal with that poison. Anyway, continuing just to do light ending combos, trying to ignore the poison that's back on us. If we keep up the bleeds, then Energy Adoption Fire cannot trigger, and keeping up bleeds with Nick Fury is pretty simple, and as long as we don't throw any heavy attacks, we'll keep the Cold Snap immunity, so we don't have to worry about the Energy Adoption nodes at all. If I was perhaps a bit smarter, I would have been going for some more parries here. More parries would have meant more using Stun Vulnerability, but I didn't. Scarlet Witch is very nicely procced a Fury on us, so we can use that to get some bigger light ending bleeds. We're up to 4.6k is really not bad from a 5-star Nick Fury, and this is still his first life. If we pushed him to second life, we would get significantly more damage. However, Nick Fury goes to that without issue, though the poisons and a bit of worse RNG could have pushed us down the wrong path there. Up next we have Stryfe, and in the original video I say that if you're running Ghost, you can use Kingpin against the class disadvantage fights without issue, and so I'm going to show that right here. Kingpin versus Stryfe is absolutely fine, and we're going to continue just to shrug off all of those debuffs. What do we have to watch out for with Stryfe? Well, he's got his purple charges, which will cause our attacks to glance, and whilst he's awakened, every time we glance he has a chance to cloak, and he can also cloak on his special one. However, whenever we throw one of our specials, it forces him out of his cloak mode. So, whilst it doesn't last very long, that is a little trick you can use if you want to get rid of it. The one thing we do have to worry about, though, using Kingpin, is Stryfe can spend, I think it's 2 or 3 of his telepathic charges, the purple ones, to remove an unstoppable on you and passively stun you. So if we go for the special 2 like we do here, or we will in a moment because I'm getting rid of those charges to make sure it's safe, we've got to make sure that whilst that unstoppable's on us, that he doesn't gain too many of those charges and hit you, because that will happen, I believe, through block as well. So he's got 4 now, so we have to make sure that we fully dex this, otherwise he would passively stun us right in the middle, and that's very bad for us. We've got 3 overpower now, so we're going for a big special 1, 20k crit. Remember, these are just 5 stars in Act 7, they're not doing badly at all. No, we're just going to wait out that. I shouldn't have gone for the first hit, but doesn't matter too much. And then Kingpin closes out that fight very nicely, without any major issues. Up next we have Captain Marvel movie, and this is where things start to go slightly wrong, but I will be using Kingpin again, just to show a few other things that he can do, even when fights aren't going the best. So we're going to sit through our loading screen, and always think, what can go wrong in this fight? Well, I really don't like dealing with Captain Marvel movie Special 2, so I'm going to be baiting the Special 1 alone. Getting that full dex on the final beams can be a bit tricky, so I'm going to stop and do it there. However, do watch out for the Special 1, particularly with Blood in the Water, and make sure you can get that full dex. It's not unblockable until she's got into her binary mode, so you can just fully block it if you want, but that could hurt a bit. There we go, we remember how to get the full dex now, so we're going to go back to doing that. Throw it Special 2, big damage, but that's going to knock her down, so she is now in her binary mode, which means even though we're unstoppable, that was non-blockable Special 1, so we took quite a lot of damage. Going for our Special 1 now, with 3 overpowers, the degen is ticking away very, very nicely. That degen is also a special one because it reduces ability accuracy, but also it makes the opponent hit much less hard, meaning this fight is much safer whilst we have one of those degens up. I think it's a 50% weakness is built into it, very, very powerful. And despite getting hit a little bit, Kingpin finishes out this fight much better. If you were, better than me, you would be able to finish this fight at much more health. Last up on the path, we have Jugganaut, and we'll be using Nick Fury. What do we have to watch out for in this fight? Well, Jugganaut is pretty much the king of unstoppables, so we've got to make sure we deal with his gem, but there that goes nice and easily. We've got bleeds up on him now, and we've got our cold snap immunity, so we don't have to worry about any of the nodes really. We've got Blood in the Water to worry about. Once those incinerates have gone away, there we go, the Fury disappears now. How do we get rid of Juggernaut's gem? And that's what's just come back there, he's got his gem. Well, whenever you knock him down, or when you apply a non-damaging debuff to him, the gem goes away, and parry stuns count for this. So make sure you keep him stunned, and won't have anything to worry about. It's at this point that I learned that passive bleeds don't count for energy adoption fire, so we've got to remember that as well. Got to keep a bleed debuff up on Jugganaut at all times. Bait the special 1, go for my special 2, and we can see they get 1, 2, we've got 7 bleeds, so we're all safe. Didn't stun on that one, unfortunately, but this fight's pretty much closed out anyway. There we go, that is the path. And up next, as always, we have the Champion Swapper, and for a change, I will actually be using it. As suggested in my original video, you want to bring someone that can help Apocalypse? This is a great place to do it. Mr. Sinister and Cable do the same thing, and yes, I will be bringing my big Mr. Sinister, but don't worry, we won't actually be using him, it's just for the synergy's purpose. The boss we will be taking is Mole Man, and I will be using Apocalypse for him. If you don't have Apocalypse, Archangel, absolutely fine. Archangel with White Mag's pre-fight, even better. There is time in this fight, even though Mole Man will shrug off your stuns, if you're using Archangel, to parry heavy him whilst he is below 5 of his monster mass, which is the light green icon on the far right of his bar. There is time, to use Archangel, parry heavy, you will be fine. Once he's above 5 monster mass, and my phone is having an absolute heart attack at this point, then he'll be absolutely fine. However, we are using Apocalypse here, so what do we have to think about? Well, we want to keep bleeds on him, so we can take advantage of bleed vulnerability. We want to make sure we're away from him when the unstoppable timer goes round. And that's pretty much it. Don't get hit, and we're going to go for our standard Apocalypse Special 1, Special 2, Special 1 spam cycle, so 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. But that's pretty much all we have to worry about. Here's our first Special 1. And if you wanted to go for even more Apocalypse, say you brought Stryfe on the main... Sorry, you brought Mr. Sinister on the main team, you could then bring Stryfe as support, and that would make this fight go much faster with Apocalypse. So, we are just slowly chunking our way through this fight. We're going to be going from the heavy soon to get some more bleeds up. There we go. It also refreshes the debuffs from our Special 1, and having that poison ticking away is quite nice, and having the weakness on him will help keep block damage down, because remember that cruelty buff he gets every time we knock him down will allow him to crit through block, and that can get really quite painful. So having a weakness on him is very, very nice. But we can combine that with the concussion from our Special 2 to reduce the chances of it proccing. Now, this fight did go on a little bit longer than I anticipated, so maybe going Special 1, Special 2, Special 3, Special 1 spam would have been better. This would have doubled the potency of all of Apocalypse's personal permanent... Sorry, the special debuffs, so the degen, the poison, the weakness, and the concussion, not the bleeds. It would have doubled their potency and made them permanent, so we wouldn't have to worry about them at all. But regardless, Special 1 spam is doing well. Unfortunately, the bleed falls off there, so we do lose out on some potency from our Special 1 because we lose bleed vulnerability. But you can see the unstoppable goes around there, and the concussion prevents it from triggering on either of us, and that is absolutely fine. There is also foresight on this fight, and I completely forget about that. So if you want this fight to go a bit faster, feel free to use foresight to your advantage. If you have the unstoppable on you, feel free to unstoppable intercept. That does count here as an intercept for foresight. Unstoppable intercepting is when you hold block whilst you're unstoppable, let the opponent hit you, and then instantly retaliate against them. This counts as an unstoppable. Jugganaut is a great champion to practice doing this with. Moleman, when on offense, can do it as well. So we've got a bleed up, we're going for our last Special 1, and pop, pop, pop. That is Moleman down without issues, and all of 7.2.1 completed. As always though, move to the end node. Don't be silly and quit out. It sounds weird and stupid, but I have seen it done. So make sure you move all the way to that final node. So, there you have it. Everything you need to know for 7.2.1. Coming soon, we'll have more Act 7, the Rank 3 Hulkbuster showcase that I promised ages ago. The Discord has voted on a Rank 3 Scarlet Witch showcase, and she is bonkers. I don't know how she made it to be a 7-star with any sort of testing. She is just insane. And I will also be continuing the So You Just Pulled series, looking at 7-star champions at Rank 1 unawakened, knowing what you can get out of a champion if you have just pulled them, without any sort of extra fluff to go along with them. If you have any questions, please do leave them down below, and please do all the YouTube stuff. Please also consider joining the Discord server, a great place to get specific advice, make suggestions for future video topics, and while I'm awake, I do my best to be there as much as possible. Thank you, and I will see you next time.